And the scene is set at Tulane University, where Monsieur Leblanc is getting off of a bus at a bus stop at the end of campus, wheeling himself with no legs, determined to see the prince, across the campus grounds, through the park area that will lead him directly to the History Department building. There he finds a wheelchair-accessible ramp on the edge of the staircase. It's a little small, it's a tight fit, but he makes his way up slowly. The janitor on the inside opens the door and goes out to help him as he's having trouble staying off of the stairs and the ramp. Then the janitor helps him up the other stairs directly to the door and into the building. Monsieur Leblanc thanks the janitor, but Leblanc finds himself finally coming to the place that he had known to be declared an Elysium in front of him and others, the lecture hall where he presented himself in front of the prince. And the prince, hard at work, looking over some papers, looks up. His visage is horrifically scarred. He looks very concerned scanning these papers, but Monsieur Leblanc, the last time he saw the prince, there was not all this scar tissue all over his face. It's a horrific mess. Now what I want you to do is I want you to roll self-control, Guthrie. Or actually, yeah, so we'll say self-control.
Yeah, 2 seconds. This'll actually be funny if it goes the way I think it's gonna go. Hang on, I'm trying to find my other character.
The prince sees you. He's looking at you from about 30 feet away.
Yeah, no. Okay, so hang on. Where's my self-control? 2. Oh, that's not good. Hang on.
Okay.
2 dice for self-control.
You can also spend a willpower if you fail it.
No, I can't.
Okay.
My character's at 1 willpower right now.
Okay, then you can't. Okay, so roll your self-control.
Fails. He fails the self-control, and as he starts to inadvertently frenzy, he falls out of the wheelchair.
Well, you're not frenzying. You're not frenzying. You're just afraid. Oh, I'm sorry, not self-control. I should say courage. Roll courage. It's my fault. I made a mistake. I'm tired. I've had a long night.
Okay.
Just roll courage.
Okay, rolled courage, and gets 1 success.
Okay, you get 1 success. So basically, you're scared at the look of his face, but you manage to regain your composure, and you come down the ramp.
Yeah.
As he looks up at you, squinting, and
yeah.
He then opens his mouth, and his voice is a little gravelier than it was. Monsieur Leblanc.
Oui, monseigneur, c'est moi.
You have to forgive me. I was assaulted the other night. I'm not yet fully recovered. And then he gets up and he walks over to you. But what has happened to you?
Oh, what a tale to tell. And I'm going to just simply drop the French accent, but assume it's there because I can't keep up the French accent for the entire...
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Monsieur Leblanc says, I was going to... just last night, I was contacted by good Father Deacons, or at least I thought he was good Father Deacons, to go and he said that there might be a new opportunity for me to open my contacts and potentially perform magic with this clan that calls itself Giovanni. I'd never heard of them before, and I thought it was a good idea to potentially go meet this new clan. I mean, I'd heard of them in passing, but never actually met one. So I thought this was a good idea. I go. They're talking about masquerade ball happening on that's happening on Wednesday, and on Wednesday evening, and I offered my services as a magician. I started with my simple tricks. The Giovanni were not impressed, and so I used my shimmer street to manipulate a painting that the Giovanni had just been that one of the Giovanni had just been touching. Used an illusion to turn it into Edvard Munch's The Scream for 2 seconds and turn it back to normal. Well, I get ousted by a couple of heavies from the building, and I'm a little confused by this. A couple of hours later, as I'm walking back along Bourbon Street, I get pulled into a van, and I wind up at a bike shop, Funkmaster's Customs, I believe it was called. And there, after being black bagged and the head taken off, I get bound hand and foot to a couple of motorcycles. I try to escape. I try to escape. They put me back into the motorcycles, and the next thing you know, I'm getting decked. I'm getting decked in the body by Father Deacons. I have a gun pointed to my head by Clay, the singer. Some guy, I didn't get his name. And Clay get on motorcycles. I also remember that the head of the Tremere was there. Well, actually, hang on. No, the Tremere character may have come afterwards. I'll just say that. Forget that. I'm dropping that section. Are you still there, Carrie?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
You can keep going.
Anyway, so what happens is I try to escape a couple of times. I try to spend one of the last of my willpower on creating a fire illusion to try to get them to frenzy in the hopes that I might have enough of a chance to escape. To no avail. And anyway, after the father has hit me, Clay and this unknown other assailant basically rev up a couple of motorcycles, and they pull my legs from my body and break my back.
The prince looks openly shocked at that statement.
Yeah, and when I come to a little bit later, Lord Aisha of the Tremere has basically resuscitated me and told me to leave the city. So here I am retrieving my book. I wanted to retrieve the last of what was left of my sire, Monsieur Dupin, and I'll gladly leave the city. I didn't realize I caused that much trouble.
Calm yourself. Now, I've rolled for occult and intelligence to see exactly how much I know about the Giovanni. Yeah. And I've gotten 4 successes. I know a hell of a lot about the Giovanni.
Yeah, so my character...
And I'm going to include in my knowledge of what I know about the Giovanni detailed notes about the promise of 1528. So that's for all who watch this video to understand. This character, the Prince of the Damned City, knows everything about the damn Treaty of Venice. He looks at you, and he's like he's peering right through you, and you can see the scars on his face and the anger. It's not directed at you. He's furious, though. I'm going to roll self-control.
Okay.
Or actually, courage.
About to get killed for shooting.
No, sorry, I'm going to roll self-control. But not to frenzy. Like, this is not for that.
Okay.
Okay. So the prince manages to regain his composure. He is sighing for a second. He sort of straightens his tie a bit and says, "Please come with me." And he leads you down to the edge of the auditorium, and he sits down in a chair in the front row, and he leaves it so your wheelchair is directly in front of him. It's a very intimate, close space. Yeah. He says, "My friend, is Lord Ishar the Prince of New Orleans?"
No, he is not.
Then you are not banished. Did you break any traditions?
Not as far as I know, unless I made some mistake by inflicting, by interfering, by creating an illusion surrounding someone's property.
That is not a tradition.
No, as far as I know, I've not broken any traditions.
Did you harm anyone physically?
No, not at all.
Or the Giovanni from doing their business?
Not as far as I know. I only manipulated a painting for 2 seconds.
And they harmed you?
Yes, they... well, I was told by Clay that this was because I had offended the Giovanni that this was happening.
So these other kindred, on behalf of the Giovanni, harmed you?
Yes, as far as I know, yes.
They are to be summoned to me. We are going to talk about the Treaty of 1528. They are going to understand in explicit detail what that treaty really entails. This is a Camarilla city. Now, you deserve better. And he kind of pats your cheek. Come now. Are you hungry?
Oh, yes, sir. I literally am one blood point. I've had enough to be resuscitated, but I'm barely 1 point. Well, I'm barely 1 point away
All right,
from.
Guthrie, out of character, never refer to blood as points or anything.
Okay.
Just say that you
I,
feel weak with hunger. Use like realistic sentences. No, start from there.
sorry. I feel weak with hunger. I feel weak with hunger. I haven't eaten in so long since I took my fangs out for Monsieur Henri a while back in order to
I
try to.
understand. I understand. Hang on. The prince walks down into the hallway, and he returns. There are two janitors with him. Um, these are both people whom he has used his powers of persuasion and domination on. They are quickly to respond to the things that he tells them to do. He leads them down to you, and he goes behind his desk while they're standing basically blank-faced. He pulls out a small glass, but it's big enough for your needs, and he walks over with a small knife, and he instructs the first janitor with a quick mesmerize. Do not be scared, but take this knife and slice your wrist. Fill this cup, and he hands it to him. I will bandage your arm and ensure that you survive this. You will leave feeling all right, as if you just had an accident, is all. Clumsy. The man is setting about his business and starts grimacing a little bit as he cuts his wrist and blood drips down into the cup. The prince walks behind the desk and he starts pulling out a first aid kit. And the other man is, of course, standing at attention without any indication that he's going to move one way or another. The prince then, let's see. Well, I'm sorry, Guthrie. I actually have to re-roll that. Let me.
Yeah.
It was 6 dice, not 7. But it's okay. Their willpower is very low, so don't you worry.
No, I got it.
So yeah, it's still fine. The other man, the other man. So we're going as if everything's the same. The other man is just standing at attention, and you can tell that the prince has the run of this school, that he's done this forever. That he probably has a lot of staff workers under his purview, and he's kept a tight command and of his domain, for however long. But it's as if this is like breathing to him.
Mm-hmm.
He sets out gauze and everything, and he looks to the man as he fills the cup, and he says, "Come, bring me the cup." The man walks over, leaves the cup on the desk, and then he mesmerizes him again. I want you to calmly sit down, Thomas. I will dress your wounds, and then you're going to go home for the day. Drink some orange juice when you get home. And the prince delicately and tenderly tends to the man's wounds. He bandages him up. Now you're going to want to see a doctor about this. Take tomorrow off as well. The man is sort of responding to the powers of domination, and then the prince kind of lingers after he's finished bandaging him, and then says something different in a different tone of voice. Thomas, you will remember accidentally cutting yourself on a piece of glass while you were helping me with cleaning this room up. You will not remember my face as you see it now. You will not remember exactly what happened afterwards, only that I looked normal and that I helped you. And I told you to go home exactly as if I had spoken to you, just exactly as I had just spoken to you before. You will take tomorrow off, of course. Thomas responds, "Yes, I will take tomorrow off, and I will see a doctor. I don't want this to get infected. Thank you, Mr. Dr. McKinnon. Thank you." And he sort of gets up and he leaves. And then the prince walks over to you with the cup, and he hands it to you.
Monsieur Leblanc takes the cup and proceeds to, with both hands and still somewhat shakily, start drinking it. And I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll self-control at this point, not to frenzy, but to not break down from crying at this point because of just just because of the fact that he realizes how badly wronged he actually has been.
Mm-hmm.
He still initially he thought that he had done an offense and just wanted to pick up his book from the city, but now that he realizes that he actually was wronged, this is a different story. And I fail. And you can hear him sobbing a little bit you can hear him sobbing a bit as he's drinking out of the cup and says, "Monseigneur, I do not know what is with this city. I try to do the right thing, and all I get is I don't know." And you hear a little bit of a tremor in his voice as he's kind of drinking out of the cup, both handed. And when he downs the cup after he downs the cup fully, he still shakingly hands it back to the prince and says, "I'm beginning to wonder whether or not my magic itself is what is bringing about my misfortune. Maybe I should call it quits with that and try to turn over a new leaf and find something new to do."
Well, maybe you ought to be a little bit more discerning about when you display that particular talent. He smiles at you and he says, "Come now. Now you must still be thirsty."
Oui, n'est-ce pas? Oui, bien sûr. But
now, since I didn't know you were at that low of a blood count, and you did pass you did fail the self-control to cry. Roll self-control one more time.
Okay. Self-control to cry. I passed that one.
Okay, this self-control was to make sure you don't frenzy because of hunger and everything because you're so low. I'm assuming your humanity, we should have made that earlier, but we're just going to say that that's the rule. We're not going to stress about these things too much. Yeah. So now, basically, the prince is nodding for a bit, almost absent-mindedly. He then looks to the other janitor, Ricardo, and he mesmerizes the gentleman the same exact way. Again, the man taking the knife as he refills your glass. Look, Ricardo is a bit of a sturdier man, so you can have a refill after this drink, he says to you.
Merci.
He hands you the drink while he's sort of elevating Ricardo's wound and holding it close. You will drink this one a little quickly, if that's all right. I don't want to leave him like a stuck pig.
No, merci. I'm drinking quickly, and with that he laps up the blood like he is really freaking hungry.
He nods, and then he takes the cup again and he fills it up again, and he looks to Ricardo as he's bandaging his wound, and you can tell he's just as kind about it. There's a gentleness to the prince that you've never really seen ever on display.
Yeah.
And he again, works to bandage the wound closely while sort of implanting the suggestions in Ricardo that he needs to go home and call a doctor immediately. And he says you should also drink some Gatorade or orange juice, whatever you have around the house. Your blood sugar is a bit low. And then he touches his face ever so slightly with his hand like this, and then completely changes his memories, making it so that he slipped and he fell trying to help the other janitor when he cut himself, and he cut himself as well, it seems, and he just didn't notice until now. Mm-hmm. How did that get there? And the man, Ricardo, is, "Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You don't need to be doing this for me, sir. I could do this myself." And and he's looking at him and saying, "No, Ricardo, that's okay. You need to go home. Give me a call in a couple of days. Take tomorrow off as well, but see a doctor." And he hands you the last cup as Ricardo leaves, sort of in a daze.
Monsieur Leblanc drinks the last cup and starts to calm down again, and is actually, because my character, I'm not sure whether it's at 3 blood points or 2 that he would have frenzied. He was just 1 point above after resuscitation. So.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have to. You're not in danger of frenzying anymore. You made a self-control roll.
Yes.
The prince is looking at you. Are you still hungry?
No, I am a little better now. Thank you.
Are you sure? Now, if you know the rules for blood consumption versus if you probably do need a little more blood is what I'm trying to say. So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm feeling a little better, but I am still a bit hungry. I apologize, Monseigneur. I didn't realize I was this low.
He looks at you and he says, "So they did this to you for the social faux pas?"
Oui, essentially, yes.
Oh, he nods. You will wait here. He walks down the hallway, and he comes back a little while later, and he's led. I'm gonna make some rolls this time, because the staff, like, he repeatedly dominates when he's in here working. So I let that go. But this time I'm gonna roll. Yeah, bang up job, and I'm gonna roll again. These are all basically willpower 3 and 4 individuals, but mostly 4. We're just gonna say 4 for base. That would be at the university at this point in time. Okay, he brings in two college kids, a boy and a girl, a couple. They are standing in front of you the same way, and he says, "Now, if I have it straight, your fangs, they still haven't grown back?"
Not since the incident. No, they were supposed to. I was. Yes, I was expecting it would take about a month to heal. Out of character, when I say I expect it take about a month, William Simons told me it was going to take a month.
Yeah, it's going to take a month. And
Yeah.
and by the way, that's ag damage and all that. With those particular things, it was ruled pretty fairly, in my opinion.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Open your mouth for a second. Let me see. And he wants to take a look to see if they're growing in a little.
Yeah. He opens that, and then there's a little stub of a fang that's just barely growing in at all.
He nods and he smiles. It's sort of like going to the dentist, and he's sort of looking at you. Well, it seems that your wounds are progressing to heal. And then he wanders over to the girl in the group, and he says, "Give me your wrist, my dear, and remember you can trust me. Don't cry out in pain. Don't scream. Don't worry. Everything here is but a dream, and you'll wake up shortly when I say, wake up." And she nods her head, and the prince takes her wrist, and he gently bites into it, and she sort of succumbs to the ecstasy of the kiss for a second. Though he normally you would he's Ventru, so you're thinking like.
Pause. I got a phone call coming in. 1 second here. I'll be right.
Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. He's Ventru, so you're looking on, and he sort of spits a little blood out into the cup. The roll for a second. When we get back. He then takes her wrist and he fills the cup with blood, and then licks her wounds closed, handing you the cup to drink. He then looks to the other.
Yeah. It's going to be another 6 months
before looking directly back at her. And changing her memory. He brushes her hair aside, looking into her eyes, and details a story interwoven about how she started to feel ill and feel sick, and she was taken in here by her boyfriend, and they're just talking to the good professor trying to figure out if the nurse's office is still open. He
Okay.
changes the details around of this memory and tells her to close her eyes and to wait 10 minutes with an additional mesmerize afterwards. Don't worry about anything you hear from this point out. You'll just be seen to. This is all still a dream. When you wake up, you will wish to go to the nurse. She's in a trance-like state, not really asleep, but mimicking sleep, and he hands the glass off to you.
Yeah.
He lets you drink again, and then he walks over to the young man, and he does much the same thing. And you'll notice that each time he bites into their wrist, he takes the time to sort of spit a little blood out afterwards, which we'll get to in a second. This time, however, though, he just barely manages to mesmerize the kid, and he sort of starts to sort of see that he's being bit into, and he has to make a self-control check, which he passes, but he's visibly sort of pulling away, you know, and the prince sort of looks at him sharply and commands him and says, "Still, be still," and then mesmerizes him again, this time implanting a much more powerful suggestion. Much the same is going on. He tells him that this is basically as if he was in a dream. He doesn't remember how he got here. You know, the boy is only to be worried about his girlfriend. She feels ill, and now he's starting to feel ill. Maybe they've caught something while they were on campus the last few days. Maybe there's something going around. After you finish drinking that glass, he hands you another. Then one after another, he looks at them both and implants additional memories, sort of fabricating a whole story with them both coming in feeling ill, and he instructs them on how to get to the nurse's office. Especially the memory seems to be really taking hold in the woman whom he would be concerned of. And they both leave feeling like they've been given the right advice on where to go to get attention and help. And after you drink 2 more glasses in a row from all of this,
I'm probably up to 8 bullet points by now, so
so you've gained 5 blood points. You're up to 6.
okay, so yeah.
And you're in a reasonable place where you won't frenzy and you can go hunting or get help.
Yeah.
The prince will sit down across from you again and say, "Now, you are going to need a nice place to stay. Do you have a home, a haven?"
I was staying with Monsieur Delano, but I'm not sure in the light of the present
You are no longer staying with Delano, he says to you. Now, here's the thing. Because of the spitting of blood, I want you to roll manipulation subterfuge twice.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. Give me a sec to find out how many dice I'm down. I'm at -5, so I'm no longer incapacitated. That's
okay, we'll say you just didn't notice then. We're going to skip right ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so the prince was putting on a bit of a show with the spitting of blood, but we'll forget about that for now.
Yeah.
You didn't notice that at all, so we're not going to worry about that. The prince then is looking at you, and he says, "Monsieur Delano is not to be trusted."
Oh?
He looks back and he says, "I won't lie to you, sir. He tried to bind me with his blood."
Oh, merde.
For your own safety, I don't wish for you to return there. And we're going to say, I'm going to pull an influence manipulation roll, which will be 10 dice.
It won't be necessary. Now that Monsieur Leblanc is aware of this, he's kind of stuck in an indeterminate state of, like, where do I go now?
No. This is on your behalf. He's making a phone call. He pulls out a cell phone.
Oh, okay.
And, let's see. He unfortunately can't find any rooms at the dorms. So there just isn't anything. There's no room for you right now. Not in with your wheelchair. There's nothing for assisted people that's open. And he's sighing. He's kind of frustrated. I want you to take the bus to the Tulane Medical Center. I want you to speak with the Bruja, Madison LaRouge. I'm sorry I can't find you a place to stay here on campus. When you've healed a bit more, come back. We'll see about getting you a dorm room, potentially, which would be safe on my domain as long as you defend my territory from interlopers and intruders.
I would gladly defend your domain, my Monseigneur, once I've got my willpower back and I'm a little more once I've got some willpower back and I'm a little more able to help. I gladly will.
Out of character, just a suggestion. Don't use game terms like willpower. Just say, once I found my resolve. You know, like always try to use vague statements that sort of are literary. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Once I've found my once I've found my resolve and I'm a little more able to move, gladly I will help defend your domain. Monseigneur, I would like to go one step further in repayment of your debt, in repayment of your kindness. Sorry.
He waves his hand and he says, that can come later.
Yeah.
In fact, I would prefer if it did. And he pulls out his wallet and he's looking around. He finds a card for Madison. He gives it to you, and then he makes a phone call. He actually calls her. And out of character, that's Emily Ocktree's character.
Okay, Emily Octree. So I'll go talk to her and try to run it with her.
Madison works and holds dominion over the Tulane Medical Center, the hospital. You were to take the bus down the block. She will find a way to get you a room, and he inclines his head to you.
Yep.
There you will rest and you will heal, and I will provide some sustenance if necessary, and she cannot. But I would not necessarily leave there too often poking your head out. Only confer with those you truly trust. Monsieur Delano is now compromised in my eyes, you understand, with the Sabbat invasion, and then he inclines to his face, which you can tell is horribly scarred, almost disfigured.
Yeah.
There has been no shortage of attempts on my personal safety and health.
I understand.
I would not wish for anything to happen to you.
As Monsieur Leblanc starts to wheel his way out, he turns around and says, Monseigneur, I know you said that you would wait 2 weeks and then wait for the Primogen Council to oust you if they are not of opinion that that you are a good prince. And I know that as an independent, I am not. My word does not mean much. But for what it's worth, you have my support as prince.
He smiles at you and he nods. I appreciate that, Monsieur Leblanc. And I'll have your book back when I'm done reading it.
Yeah, I understand. I apologize for the sudden interruption. This was not what I intended.
No. Please. If you need to seek audience, and he actually thinks for a second, do you have my card with a number to reach me?
I left that to the good Père Deacons before, but no, I don't have my card.
He nods and he waves. He just sort of like, it's not that he's ignoring you. He's just sort of prudent with time, and he walks over to the desk and he's looking around. He finds a couple of business cards and he writes a few notes on them, and then he comes back to you and he says, this is for me and my child Vivian if you cannot get a hold of me. Additionally, there is the number of Jean-Philippe, who is the new Primogen for the Ventru. Though that is a bit of privileged information, I would rather you not tell anyone that we have internally rearranged things just of yet.
Not
and
to
he
worry.
hands them both to you.
I won't tell anyone. I'll be speaking. I will be staying in the Tulane Medical Center until I heal until I heal fully.
And he nods to you and he smiles, and he pats you on the shoulder and he says, "Be well."
Yeah. Merci, Monseigneur. You are too kind. And with that, Monsieur Leblanc hefts his way up the wheelchair ramp back out to the to the outside, and then the scene ends, I guess.
Well, the prince is thinking,
Yeah, sorry.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You named Clay. You
Yeah.
named Father Amos.
There was one other Walter's character. I didn't get his name, but I gave a description of him,
He sighs a little bit, thinking about it.
and knew that he was turned over to the Tremere. So that much he does know. He honestly, I can tell you that there. I can tell you with. I believe my character actually also. My character says that he also believed he saw the Tremere Primogen there. But note
Okay.
that I said believed he saw. He can't be known for certain because I can't remember whether I saw him there in character or out of character.
No, that's okay. We're going to leave that. We're going to leave it with Lord Ishar's. That's enough.
Yeah, Lord.
That's enough. It's all enough.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm going to roll an intelligence and we'll say perception roll. Sort of connecting the dots that maybe the Giovanni are colluding a little bit, maybe with Lord Ishar in some manner, and that the Toreador seem to be very compromised in this mess. And the prince is thinking to himself just a little bit. He's like, well, I did make a deal with the young girl. Kushil's child seemed smarter and more sincere than to let the brood of her clan strike ominously poor deals. He says to himself out loud, I hope that she's smart enough to honor a boon when she makes one. And now you can end the scene.
Okay. And we'll end that. And as soon as